This is Valley News Live at 5.
We begin with breaking news as police say a boy at the Moorhead High School Career Academy was found today with a fake gun in his backpack. The school, we're told, was placed in a lockdown and he was taken into custody on several charges, including a charge of making terroristic threats. The fate of a former West Fargo high school computer teacher is now in the hands of 12 jurors. Closing arguments wrapped up just 30 minutes ago in the case of 59-year-old Ronald Thompson. He's charged with luring a minor for sex after prosecutors say Thompson sent explicit messages to someone he believed was a 14-year-old girl.
Who would be fooled by somebody saying 14 going on 15 and then continuing immediately to start talking about sex?
The jury deliberated for 20 minutes before breaking for the day. They'll be back to deliberate tomorrow morning at 9. A scary morning for all involved in the Ada Borup West School District as a school bus carrying children was hit by a pickup this morning. 4 children and an adult were taken to the hospital. Valley News Team's J.C. Dodd was on the scene as crews recovered the bus and pickup and spoke to families with children in that district.
My kids ride the Borup bus, so then I'm in a full-blown panic.
At 7:30 this morning, the day changed for a group of Ada Borup West parents. A school bus full of students traveling east on 190th Avenue North was hit by a pickup truck hauling a trailer. The Clay County Sheriff says it appears the driver of the pickup failed to yield.
Felt like my heart stopped, and then I felt like my heart was going 100 miles an hour because that's the road that I live on. That's straight west of me.
Babolian's 2 sons ride the bus to school every morning. It wasn't long before she learned the bus involved wasn't the one her kids were on. But her heart is still broken tonight for the 4 students taken to the hospital, one of them being airlifted.
It's bad when it's anybody, but it's even worse when it's kids.
It doesn't happen very often, that's for sure. It's very scary, honestly.
The Ada Borup West superintendent says some of the students have serious injuries, but they are non-life threatening. The Clay County Sheriff says the driver of the pickup truck has significant but non-life threatening injuries.
Really feeling for those parents right now.
That could be my kid or anybody's kid, and I really feel sorry for the families that are involved in this. It's kind of tragic, actually. I hope they're okay.
In Clay County, J.C. Dodd, Valley News Live.
We're also told that other students who were on the bus were picked up by parents or guardians, and we're going to continue to update you on the condition of the students as we learn more. Again, one of them airlifted to Fargo at a hospital. 3 others were taken to the hospital by ambulance. Dry conditions today, but they've combined with wind and cooler temps. Hutch is here to elaborate on the chilly conditions to come as well as some damage from yesterday. Hutch?
Mike, thank you so much and good evening, everyone. Yeah, today's weather, although breezy and cool, much quieter. Last night we had talked about the tornadoes that were around the region. You saw the warnings that we had, rainfall of over 1 inch for many locations across North Dakota, and a lot of snow in the western Dakotas, upwards of 7 inches in Beach and feet of snow in the Black Hills. This photo shared today, this afternoon. This is a wall cloud. You see this lowering of the cloud here over the lake, and it took place near Eagle Lake. There was some damage reported there. So this picture is from the south, is that lowering cloud base called a wall cloud, and this protruding down could very well be a funnel. Now, if that funnel was rotating and if it was in contact with the ground, it would be a tornado. So we've passed that information along to the Weather Service, and we sure appreciate the photos and all of the information on these storms that made their way through. From the south to north, they were, well, pretty strong. And this is about the time they moved over that exact area, 6:18 on the radar. And that's when the damage likely occurred. Now let's take a look at what we have to worry about tonight, and that's the cold takes hold out to the west. Freeze warnings. Temperatures of 32 degrees or below in many areas are possible out to the west, but for us, the clouds and the wind will continue and keep us blanketed in the, I hate to call it warmth, but we'll be in the low 40s as we begin our day tomorrow on your Friday. I'll have details on how it ends, and we do have some cold and frost to talk about for our area as well in a few moments. Mike?
The 40s will be warm in a month or so to come.
Indeed, yeah.
All right, thanks. Still no word on the condition of a man who rolled a vehicle he's accused of stealing earlier this morning in West Fargo. The white SUV was reported stolen in the 1200 block of Queensway. Police say the thief broke a window to get inside. Later, that same vehicle was spotted along Veterans Boulevard and then rolled during a police chase. The man's name has not been released. An already convicted sex offender is now spending more time behind bars for sexually assaulting 2 young girls. Matthew ODEGARD from Gwinner, North Dakota, was originally charged with 5 counts of felony gross sexual imposition against victims under the age of 15. But 2 of those charges were dismissed. ODEGARD was convicted of the other 3 earlier this week, sentenced to 3.5 years in prison with 5 years of supervised probation. State records show that ODEGARD is already a convicted felon and registered as a low-risk sex offender from sexual assault charges back in 2016. A 60-year-old woman from Sioux Falls has been convicted of manslaughter in the death of her newborn son, whose body was discovered in a ditch 40 years ago. The newborn, known as Baby Andrew, was found wrapped in a blanket in a cornfield ditch in Sioux Falls back in 1981. An autopsy determined he died of exposure. Police arrested Teresa Bentes in March of 2019 after investigators reworked the case and determined through advanced DNA testing that she was the mother. A U.S. District Court judge in Fargo has sentenced a Rhode Island man to 33 years in prison for drug trafficking and money laundering associated with the fatal overdose death of a Grand Forks man nearly 7 years ago. Prosecutors say he was receiving and distributing fentanyl illegally imported from Canada and China. A co-conspirator was sentenced to 30 years in July. 3 Canadians have been extradited to the U.S. to stand trial in Fargo. Native American women in Minnesota are more likely to go missing and experience violent in women in other ethnic groups. Now a new state office is dedicated to finding missing and murdered Indigenous people. Data shows that while Native Americans make up just 1% of Minnesota's population, they accounted for 8 to 9% of all murdered girls and women in the state in the last decade. 27 to 54 Native American women and girls were in fact missing in our state in any given month from 2012 to 2020. The new office will collect better data on the scope of the problem and assist local and tribal law enforcement with open cases.
It's not just numbers. Like, these are our sisters, these are our relatives, and so this has always been about our community.
Minnesota also created a task force on missing and murdered African American women this year. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is continuing to urge all state residents to get vaccinated. He made his plea in Duluth today while he was there for an infrastructure project. The governor addressing the state's COVID case numbers and hospitalizations, which have yet to hit a peak and slow down. But he says that there's no excuse for it because of the vaccine.
These are the most tested and used vaccines that we have seen. They were decades in the development of this. The processes have been fine, and to not do so again not only puts you, your family, but it puts your community at risk.
If you're looking for a place in the area to get the vaccine, why not use our VNL vaccine tracker? It's on the home page of our website, or you can open your phone camera right now, point it to the QR code on the screen, then tap the link that pops up. Booster shots are a step closer for the Moderna vaccine after an FDA advisory panel recommended emergency authorization late this afternoon for certain vulnerable groups. This would apply to people who are at least 65 years old, as well as adults at high risk for the disease, and for those who are frequently exposed to at work. Now, tomorrow, the FDA advisory panel will weigh boosters for the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Valley News Live is teaming up with Gigi's Playhouse today for a final fundraising push. All week, we've shared stories with you about the major impact that the Playhouse is making on families throughout our region. Gigi's is the only state Down Syndrome Achievement Center, and because of the fire that happened months earlier, they've had to cut programming in half. This is video of their temporary space that's barely meeting their needs. They need your donations to help them build back better. They don't get any government funding, and the programs are free to their families. And to find a way to donate, we invite you to search Gigi's on your VNL News app and then click on any of the stories that pop up. Well, someone's $1 million richer. North Dakota lottery officials say one player who bought a ticket in Wahpeton matched 5 white balls for last night's drawing. No, those are the winning numbers on your screen right now. The ticket was sold at the Cenex C station, which will also receive $5,000 for selling the ticket. This is the second time a $1 million Powerball ticket was sold at that same location. Later on Valley News Live at 5, details following a big name in turkey production issuing a recall.
And a look at your low temperature or peak temperatures today, 40s and 50s as we began our day. On a cool note, it's been windy. An update to the drought conditions, some improvement here in the central drought, a lot less red or extreme drought here, but all yesterday's rain not included in that update. Your forecast includes some cold weather. I'll detail right after this.